There are 5 incredibly important questions that you need to ask your client before starting a project that you're probably forgetting about, that's causing you to leave thousands on the table.
Are you serious? You earning this?
So the first question is, what is the goal of the project? You can't possibly know what the client is trying to achieve with their project unless you know what their goal is. And if you help your clients to achieve their goals,
mission accomplished.
They're going to come back to you again and again, which means more money in your bank account. It also shows that you care about your client and their goals, and you want this collaboration to be a success for them. When you know the goal and the results that the client is hoping for, this can be really, really valuable later on for using in your case studies and also on social media. And bonus question, you should always ask your client at the beginning of the project whether you can use their project for a case study. Although having access to results of a project is difficult, you're improving your chances of getting those stats if you ask them what the goal is at the start of the project. Probably the hardest question to ask your client before starting a project is, what is their budget? But I'm going to show you 3 ways to ask for their budget later in this video. But before that, if you are pitching on a project, the most important question you should ask is, how many other people are pitching for this project? This is important because if, for example, 20 other people are pitching on this project, you might not want to pitch at all. And then if 3 people are pitching, you might want to put a little bit more effort into your pitch so that you can win this project. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people make when pitching a client is making it all about them and the work that they do, and not making it about the client and their goals. Sorry, but it's not about you. This is really how you're going to win this project. You need to be the guide and they need to be the hero of the story. So imagine you're Dumbledore and they're Harry Potter and you're guiding them on their journey.
You must obey every command I give you without question.
Yes, sir.
If you want to learn more about being a guide to your client, I definitely recommend checking out this book by Donald Miller called Building a Story Brand. This will also help you to clarify your message to your clients, so it's great for marketing as well. The next question that you need to ask your clients before starting the project to make sure you're not leaving money on the table is who the stakeholders are. A great way to ask this is to ask your clients how their team is structured and if anyone else needs to sign off on this project. Finding this out early in the project can save you so much time and money later on. Revisions are the one thing that can eat away at your budget and leave you with little or no profit. So you need to make sure you know who the stakeholders are so that you can add more time in if necessary. The fourth question that you might want to ask your client is, where did you find out about my work? This is really important because if you like working with that client and they came from a certain place, for example on LinkedIn or Instagram, then you might want to double down your efforts in those areas. For example, if I got a client on LinkedIn and I really like that client, I might double down my efforts on LinkedIn by posting even more or posting more about the niche that I spoke about to get that ideal client. Now, the final question that you most definitely need to ask your clients before starting a project, of course, is, what is your budget? Now, this is the hardest question of them all, so I'm going to give you 3 different ways to ask it. Now, the first way is to just ask the client straight, hey, what's your budget? But by doing this, you're probably backing them into a corner and they're unlikely to tell you their budget. I'm sure you've been in that situation before where you've been like, what's your budget? And the client's like, what's your fee? And you're like, what's your budget? And the client's like, what's your fee?
Somebody's to take me!
And it can go round and round in circles. So there are some better ways to ask for the client budget. So let's get into them. The first way, which works especially well if you're providing them with a pitch with a number of packages or tiers, is to say, I'd be happy to provide you with some options, but I'd love to know what might be feasible from a budget perspective. This gives them a bit more of a broader range to get back to you with, and they're not feeling like they're just saying one number that you're going to go away with and build an exact package based on that number. Another way to ask for the budget is to give them a range and see how they react. So you could say, usually this would cost between 10 and 30K, for example. And then by doing this, you're giving them a broad enough range, but you're gauging their reaction on what they say. So they might say, oh no, we were thinking more like 5K would work for us. And then you know what their budget is. But if they say, oh, that sounds good, then you know that you could probably go more towards the higher end. When I first started out as a freelancer, I was very scared to ask for people's budgets, but it gets easier over time. It just takes a little bit of practice. And the best thing you can do is just ask and just stay silent after and gauge their reaction. To make it easier to remember all of these questions, you should be creating a process or a system for yourself. I recommend that you either create an email template with a reply with all these questions in. You can do this very easily on Gmail using their templates feature, or you could create a survey that you send to your client when they first contact you. One of our students from Ballard's Business Bootcamp, Mike, has created a Calendly where he includes any questions that he might need to know before the client meets with him. And this really helps him to be prepared for this first meeting with the client and to get the most out of it. You need to be asking your clients these questions before you start a project to make sure you aren't leaving money on the table. But there are also bad pricing habits that I see designers making all the time. To find out what the top 3 are, simply watch this video next.